Okay, we're going to talk about the difference between first read and close read. And these two terms are definitely not the same. And again, it implies that you're reading a text more than once. What really bothers most kids is I don't want to read it more than once. I didn't want to read it once to begin with, let alone more than once, right? And that can be troubling to people. So I want to clarify that first of all, when we say first read and close read. First read through, yes, sir. And that's why I'm going to give you specific things to look for, because that will help you stay engaged. Okay. So the first read, you are really looking for three things. And I don't want you to change the text color because this should open up with a text color. Okay. You are looking for setting. You are looking for characters. And you are looking for, oh, good Lord. You are looking for plot. Those are the only three things that you're going to look for during a first read. Okay, you're just trying to make sense of it. And so during the first read, we call that deconstruction. Do you remember that? You are breaking it apart. Okay, and so the three parts that you're breaking it into: setting, characters, and plot. That's all you're doing during the first read. Now, when we talk about close read, there are some people who will say that you actually have to go back and reread a text 2, 3, 4, 5 times. And that's sort of a misnomer. Do you know what a misnomer is? It's not an unmarried gnome, no. So a misnomer is something that is not named properly, right? So it's a misnomer because, yes, you are going back and reading, but are you reading it the same way that you did during the first read? I'm going to tell you, the answer is no, you're really not. Okay? It's more of a skim and scan. Do you guys know what skim and scan is? They are two best friends. They're besties. They do everything together. Okay? So this is reading that requires like physical attention. Okay? It's going to take your physical concentration. Yes, ma'am. Yes, you are. It requires your physical attention to the setting, the characters, and the plot. Okay? Now, when we do a close read, you guys need to catch up? Okay, so let's go over to the close read side. When we are close reading, check this out. We are going to talk about irony. We will talk about symbolism. We'll talk about imagery. We'll talk about the theme. We'll talk about, oh geez. I'm a mess today. My fingers are just not having any of this. We'll talk about point of view. We'll talk about motivation. It's a lot, right? We'll talk about characterization. We talk about conflict. And we talk about author's purpose. Now, just like before, where we talked about skim and scan are besties and they go hand in hand, here's the deal with all of these fine things, okay? Once you are on the close read side of things, all of these things intermingle, Okay, so you never change one that it doesn't affect the others. Does that make sense? And we'll talk about this in just a minute. But when you're on the first read side, everything just is what it is. They're just the pieces. Okay. Have you guys talked about any of these elements of fiction yet? Have you talked about them in 6th grade? A little bit? Okay. That's okay. So we will talk about these this year, and you will be experts in them when you're done. So where first read talked about deconstruction, in a close read, we talk about analysis. And we start asking questions. Okay, so we take these broken pieces and then we start asking questions. Okay, these are going to be who, what, why questions. Who, what, why. And where first read involves or demands your physical attention, this demands attention to detail. Okay? So the two of these things, these two concepts are not the same. They are vastly different. And we're going to go over an example, and then we're going to try applying this to Doris is here in just a minute, or Doris is coming, sorry, in just a moment. Okay? Okay. Are we ready? Here we go. Scroll down to the example. So in a first read, the question may be, what is the setting of Harry Potter? Damien? Hogwarts, and what else? Little Whining. I'm not sure. Okay, so Hogwarts and Little Whining, or Winning, I guess. I'm not sure. I've never been sure how she actually pronounces that. Okay, so we didn't do anything with it. We just identified it. Okay, that's a first read. Close read, how does the setting of Harry Potter impact the plot if the story took place in 1336 rather than in the 1990s? Let me ask you this, folks. If it takes place in 1336, how are they getting from London to Hogwarts? Oh, yeah, there's no trains. Okay, so let me ask you this. In the second Harry Potter, could Ron steal the car? No. So Ron wouldn't have a car to steal. Okay. There you go. So Harry couldn't take the train from London to Hogwarts because a train didn't exist in 1336. So think about this. Where does Harry meet Ron and Hermione for the first time? He meets them on the train. Yeah. Okay. So in Chamber of Secrets, without the car, first of all, there was no train to miss, so they wouldn't have needed the car, but they wouldn't have taken the car, which means they wouldn't have hit the Whomping Willow, which means they wouldn't have gotten in trouble, right? So it kind of sets this whole chain reaction into play. So the plot and the setting and the characters are never separate, okay? And when you change one, you automatically change the others. Damien? Mm-hmm. You have a very analytical brain. You have an analytical brain. It's a good thing. It means you're able to break things into their pieces and then figure out what you can do with them. You're good at problem solving. You think creatively. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I can tell that. So you have a very analytical brain. You're able to take things and figure out what you can do with them, not just looking at them and seeing what's right in front of you. You can do something else with them. Okay, so does this help you understand the difference between a first read and a close read? Okay, we're going to take this a step farther. Once you're done with these notes, I want you to open up the document, Doris is Coming, not the document, not the comprehension one, just the document that says Doris is Coming that has the story in it. I can share it with you if you need me to. Okay. Anybody still working on the notes? No, you're not. Okay, finish that up. There's two Doris is Comings, so I'll help you figure out which one. You got glasses right there, Laura. Do you not? Not there. I just know. Obviously, whatever you're holding, boy. I'm glad you did it. All right, my little chatty Cathy's. All right. Well, I watched like the last episode. Well, you need to watch the rest. Bro. It's a cool series. I don't know why I don't watch it because I watched the. Okay. Yeah. Have you ever seen Supernatural? Actually, that's a good show. My mom has questions. Bro, the Flash is legit. No. The Flash is legit like the worst. I like the G. I'll be honest. I'll crush on either one of them. I'm good. Okay. All right. Let's have quiet mouths, eyes. You may feel that you want to add or delete things today. You may feel that you want to go back and revisit this after today, and that is totally fine. I'm going to shrink this down just a touch. All right. And we're going to go, I am going to go, you are not, but I am going to go to present mode. Okay. I still need all of my friends to have listening ears, quiet mouths. So when we have a close read, we have this space in the margin to do our record keeping, our note taking. And we have these light blue boxes, either at the top or the bottom of the page, that guide us through the close reading process. Okay, they tell us exactly what we should be looking for. So they tell us as we read lines 1 to 23, begin to collect and cite text evidence. Okay, they're reminding us that we need to be looking for information to support what we're saying. Underline parts of the text that describe the setting. She walked from Stutz's and, oh my goodness. I am so sorry, darling. Hang on. There we go. Is that better? Awesome. Okay. So, she walked from Stutz's and up along 4th Street. When she got to Claremont, the street where she lived, she kept going past Walnut and Chestnut and all the other streets named after trees. She hit the little business district, which was still lit for New Year's Eve, and the big incandescent bulbs on wires like buds growing from vines, entwining the trees and lighting the shop facades. When she walked further, she felt for the first time some purpose other than solitude motivating her. She rushed and did not know why until she found it. Clovey's 5 and Dime. As soon as she saw it, she knew what she was doing. It was warm inside, and she made her way to the soda fountain, even warmer from the grill's heat. A white man stood at the ice cream machine and whirred a shake. 2 white men sat at the counter and talked in low, serious tones, occasionally sucking up clots of shake through the straw. So we want to underline, the parts that relate to the setting. So I'm going to exit my full screen and I'm going to zoom in a bit and I'm going to start underlining. And to do that, I grab my line tool. Okay. We start with Stutz's up to 4th Street because that is part of my setting. To Claremont, the street where she lived, she kept going past Walnut and Chestnut and all the other streets named after trees. She hit the little business district, which was still lit for New Year's. The big incandescent bulbs on wires like buds growing from vines, entwining the trees and lighting the shop facades. So here's my question. Are we analyzing any of this, or are we just identifying the setting? Yes, we're just identifying. There's one last part, Clovey's 5 and Dime. Nope. And then she does describe the setting. It was warm inside as she made her way to the fountain, even warmer from the grill's heat. Okay, so here we have a description of setting. So we're going to underline all of those pieces because that is our setting. Okay, so we can tell from this that she lives in a neighborhood, right? Because she's walking past all these streets that are named after trees. And typically, where do you find that? In a neighborhood. Okay. Now, they also tell us, if we look right here, she talks about the trees being lit for New Year's, that they're still lit. So, what time of year is this? It's winter, but we can get pretty darn specific. It's probably January, because she says they're still lit for New Year's. So we can assume that it's after New Year's, which would mean it's in January, but it is also winter. So we know the season. We can guess that it's probably January. And so she's walking through this neighborhood, right, into a business district. Okay. So the next step is to summarize what the main character is doing. Well, we have a text box here. There we go. So the main character, and when we do this, we want to talk about three things. Okay? Guess what? Setting, characters, and what else? Thank you. So to summarize, our main character is walking from her home in a neighborhood toward, a soda fountain in the business district. There we go. We know that it is just after New Year's. Okay, so let me ask you this. In our summary, did we include the characters? What? Stay in your lane, please. Okay. So here's the deal. Did we talk about setting, characters, and plot? Did we talk about the setting? Absolutely. Did we talk about the plot? Yeah, what we know. And we don't know who she is yet. So we can't really identify, but we did talk about the main character and what the main character is doing. So did we meet our requirement? Yes, we did. Okay, so now they want us to talk about the conflict that arises in lines 15 to 23. So here's my bigger question for you. Is conflict something that is a first read or a close read strategy? It's a close read, absolutely. And so in order to talk about conflict, we're going to have to pay close attention to setting, characters, and plot. So let's move down the page. There we go. There was one waitress, hip propped against the side of the counter, wiping the countertop with a rag that had seen cleaner days. Without looking up, she said, "Sorry, we don't serve colored people." "Good," Doris said. "I don't eat them." She remembered Helen telling her that this was the line someone used at a sit-in, and Doris was glad to have a chance to use it. So, what can we assume about Doris, who is our main character? We know this now. What can we assume about Doris based on that last part? Okay. Doris is not white. And we know this because she takes note of it at the end of line 11, 12, line 12. Two white men sat at the counter and talked in low, serious tones, occasionally sucking up clots of shake through the straw. She also talks about a white man who stood at the ice cream machine and whirred a shake. Yes, you should be writing this down. I'm sorry, what? Well, we're gonna talk about all the details. So, how do we know that she's not white? Okay, Doris notices the white man at the ice cream machine and the two white men at the counter. Now, the waitress tells Doris that they don't what? Yeah. Okay. Now, if you run out of room like this, you can always highlight and make your text smaller so that it fits in the space. Okay? Now, we're going to bring in setting to the conflict, because one of the features of setting is characters' ways of life. So what can we assume about the time period that this story takes place if a Black girl walks into a soda fountain and she's told that they don't provide service to Black people? What time period are we talking? I heard it. Say it again. No. Segregation. That's what I said. I heard it. I didn't know who said it. It takes place during segregation. Okay? So the conflict, is it going to be man versus man? No, because it's not just one white person that Doris is encountering. It's a whole group. So the conflict is person versus a group. Okay? It's a whole group of people who believe in segregation. And I want you to think about this. Think about Doris, right? She is a young girl. She has walked to this soda fountain. She didn't take a cab. Nobody dropped her off. She didn't ride a bike. She doesn't have roller skates. Girl is not making a quick getaway if something goes down. She walked there knowing she wasn't going to be served. She walks in and she's told she's not going to be served. And we know that she knew what was going on. She says, as soon as she saw it, she knew what she was doing. Okay? This is one very, very brave little girl to do this at a time when it was allowed. So we haven't just done our first read with character setting and plot, right? We've done a lot of analysis. And have we supported our analysis with text evidence? How do you know that? Elle? How do you know? Oh, you're all stuffy. Okay. Did we include direct quotations or paraphrases from the text to support what we said? We absolutely did. We pulled this right from the text. And that's exactly what citing text evidence is. So now that we've done the first page, does this help you with knowing how to do close read? Yes. So I'm going to let you in on a little secret. I don't care if every answer is wrong, because a wrong answer tells me so much more than no answer. But I want it to be a genuine wrong answer. Okay? It can't be like Trash Panda's dumpster dive on Tuesdays. Okay? No nonsense. It has to be a genuine wrong answer, because that tells me what you understand, what you don't understand, and where I need to go back and help you reframe your understanding. Okay? So I'm okay with wrong answers. That doesn't bother me. No answers is unacceptable, because that means you didn't try. I don't care if you get it wrong, but I do want you to try. So if you submitted this before, you are welcome to go back over the weekend and readdress some of these things and then resubmit it. Is that fair? Okay. So it is time that we start wrapping up. Angel, thank you for joining us. I'll see you next week. All right. And for the rest of you, I want you to go ahead and start packing up. I'll come around and spray your desks. And then I will sanitize you out of the room.